We're going to call the Board of Adjustment to order. First, let me announce all the decisions of the order are final. If there's anyone aggrieved by the decision of the board, they may appeal to the circuit court within 15 days of the board's decision. Also, no permits or licenses can be issued until that 15-day appeal period is expired and no appeal has been filed. For information regarding the board's decision or an appeal circuit court, the Office of Land Use Administration will be your contact. As you come to the podium, we request that you address your questions to the board, not to others in the audience or the staff. The 5-minute limitation for your speakers, for all speakers. And if you've got a device, I'd ask at this time you turn it off or silent so we don't have disturbance in the meeting. And a reminder to the board to turn on your mics when you go to make a statement or a motion. All right, we'll go and call the attendance. Roll call. Mr. Davis? Here. Mr. Coleman? Here. Mr. Metcalf? Here. Mr. Burrows? Here. Mr. Milling? Here. Mr. Golden? Here. And I'm William Guess. It takes 5 members to make to pass a motion, up or down. We have a supermajority. As you see, we have a quorum, and therefore we can proceed. And we have, and I don't know your full name. We have somebody filling in for Mr. Anderson.
Florence Kessler.
Well, thank you for filling in today. All right, we'll start in order. We have a holdover, 691, Weston. Good afternoon.
Jerry Bird Surveying Company for the owner who's with us today. You may recall this is for a variance to locate a swimming pool, one corner of being 2 feet from a back property line, and the other end of the pool 3.7 feet from property line. Looking like this, swimming pool in blue, property line in orange. This cedar tree up in here, although not super pretty, did not want to kill it off, didn't want to locate up in there with a chance of damaging the roots. Putting it in here with the 2 foot, as you've read, the city code calls for depth of pool plus 1 foot for minimum side yard. Minimum side yard, minimum rear yard too. To help what we're asking for, we have raised the pool up 1 foot above existing ground. The top of the pool will be 1 foot above existing ground. So at this end, 3 foot in, it's only 2 feet deep into the ground there. The other end, 6 foot deep, would be 5 foot in. If there's, I'm not sure the concern is of the city with the 1 foot plus the depth. If it's stability, then this particular pool is concrete. So it would be more structurally sound than the vinyl liner type pools. This 15-foot alley adjoins us in the rear. So the next neighbor is 15 feet over. Now that alley is in fact open, it's unimproved. Last time I saw it, there was weeds of 12, 14 inches high with 2 tire trails going down it. I don't know what far, but, and I also mentioned, it's not like it's heavily used. This is a copy of the plat of Ashland Place subdivision as it was recorded in 1907, the orange lot being our lot. Statement at the bottom says that the driveways, streets, and alleys are not dedicated for public use. Now, streets certainly are. I don't know what happened in the last 110 years, but there are some places throughout this subdivision that people are using the alleys, whether it's legal or not. But I think the consensus in the neighborhood is that they all, as a congregate, own the alleyways. So it's not like we're affecting an outside neighbor with this location of the pool. But that's what we are asking for, is that location of the pool. And,
Okay, the reason why we're having this today and not last month is the public notice had to be corrected and sent back out.
that's right,
So that's been done,
right,
because it was 5.5 or so feet, now it's 2 feet.
yeah. I even saw it in Lanyap.
Okay.
Yes.
Where will the utilities that support this pool be located?
The utilities,
Yeah, there's piping and electrical usually. What side? Is it on the fence side or on the house?
All on the house side and all the pool equipment that manages the pool will be.
no, the power supply and
No.
and the water lines, I think that's what you're asking for.
Yes.
The overhead power lines are,
All that will be underground.
Yeah, we're talking
No.
about underground, sir, Mr. Byrd. The underground
oh
utilities.
yeah, underground into the house, yes, the pool,
To the pool.
yes.
What side of the pool is the utilities?
All on the house side.
Yeah, on the alley side,
So it is between the fence and the pool?
yes.
No.
Okay.
No.
And where is the overflow drain to? Is
Overflow
Yeah.
is going to go, hold on a minute. Overflow is coming out of the pool and over into,
so it'll flow onto his property?
no, excuse me, it's going north up by the cedar tree driveway. It's going up in here. The pool pump itself is setting up in this area.
Okay. In looking at the pictures, the porch that's on the back between it and the proposed pool, is it fully constructed now? That porch?
This porch?
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
yes, it's fully covered.
okay. That's all I had from questions for me. Any other questions of the board for the applicant? And you did say it's concrete, right? So
Concrete pool, yes,
and it'll have a concrete apron all around it, I suspect?
yes,
So your concrete apron goes straight to the fence line, I imagine?
right. They plan on being a,
Looks like a concrete
masonry wall.
Yeah, masonry wall.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Once again, any other questions? Okay, anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition today? I suspect you don't have anything to add, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for staff.
Yes.
Bert, has y'all gotten any response from any of the neighbors at all? Positive, negative?
To my knowledge, we have not received any response at all either way. And I'll also point out that the standard of depth plus 1 foot was established under a chief building code official probably 10 years or so ago. And when I have more recently asked our current chief building code official, he has noted that there is actually nothing in the building code requirement for the depth plus 1 foot. Therefore, it appears that what we were using 10 years ago was based on a policy that then got incorporated into the zoning ordinance. And perhaps when we revise the zoning ordinance, we'll take that requirement out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Byrd, I have one more question. The drainage, if we say you had an issue with this pool or in any way overflows, it's going to flow towards the house, right? If you'll come to the mic for a minute.
Problem with the drainage?
If there's any issue with this pool, it's going to go, it looks like north, or the cedar tree is the lowest point.
Yeah, all of stormwater drainage is going to be trapped on the house side of the
Right,
wall.
that's what I thought. So they won't interfere or impact the neighbors
No.
in any way?
Not
Okay.
at all.
All right, thank you. Sorry to call you back up. All right,
Mr.
any
Chairman,
other questions?
I
Yes.
just had one other comment. Looking at the aerial that is in our package, it appears to me that there are a number of structures, running along that alley that are right up against that property line. So it does not appear to me that it would be inconsistent with what's happened historically in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right. Mr. Burris?
Well, I guess maybe I should ask this to Bert. But is there any requirements to notify neighbors or the community at large?
Yes, sir. This application has, like a Board of Adjustment application, has a 300-foot notice and a legal ad that has to be published in the newspaper. And this case was held over from the previous meeting due to a change in the setback. So we reached everyone by mail and via legal ad. So this was twice.
Are you aware that any neighbors, any complaints or anything?
No, sir. Not at all.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move for approval, but before that, I'd like to wish Mr. Byrd a happy birthday. Yesterday. Are you going to tell us how old? I'm not going to. Okay. I'm happy to be here. We're happy you're here.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Good luck to you. All right, we're going to the extension request, which is 6170. MTC Logistics of Alabama. And I know that's, you're representing them. Your name and address, sir.
Jay Watkins. I'm an attorney with Maynard Kringale, 11 North Water Street, Suite 2429, Mobile 36602. Here on behalf of MTC, asking for an extension of our permit. Since the date of the application for the extension, I can tell you we closed this transaction last Tuesday. So MTC, you may have seen the press release, will be building the facilities associated with this permit. Groundbreaking is set to be first week of December, and so I anticipate we would be pulling ground disturbance permits and getting the clock running at that point, probably in the next 6 weeks.
Okay. Staff recommends approval. 6 months is sufficient.
Yes, sir.
All right, any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? Staff recommends that we approve the extension. This is the first for this application. Anyone in the audience either in opposition or in favor? Okay, we have none.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is this going to be refrigerated houses, refrigerated place?
Yes, sir. This is a 300,000 square foot refrigerated warehouse down off of Baker Street at Yeend near the APM terminal.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All right. Chair, entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, application 6209, Ryan Weber. Yes, sir. Name and
I'm Orrin
address.
Robinson. I'm with Victor Sign Company, and I'm representing Ryan Weber and Winn-Dixie and I guess Intera Branding Company in this. We are the sign of record here in Mobile. And we're asking for a variance to allow 2 informational signs on the new Winn-Dixie, or actually it's an old Winn-Dixie, but it's remodeled into their new branding scheme out in the Tillman's Corner, Heine area. And the 2 signs are, one says pharmacy, which they need to operate the pharmacy in there to let folks know that it is there. And also they have a special section in the store now that's called Dollar Shop. So they want to advertise that as well.
Okay. Well, staff recommends for approval, subject to the conditions statement that they've made. Before I call for any questions of the board for the applicant? Bert, if this was just one plane, would they be within compliance? I know they got like 5 different planes, and that kind of throws it off into. I was trying to figure out your notes on how that worked.
I think that in terms of the overall total sign area, they would have been in compliance, but they may still have been in excess of the 20 square foot limit for informational signs. But certainly the multiple planes of the facade present a hardship to the applicant.
Right. And they could actually have signage on the side, if I'm not mistaken, because there's a side road as well.
Yes, if this is a corner, then they would be allowed a side sign. However, if it's a multi-tenant site, they would still potentially be allowed that corner
Because they've got
signage.
two street frontage.
Yes, they have three street
really?
frontages,
Yeah.
actually. So, but they would be allowed a total of 3 signs, 2 on the building and then a tenant panel.
Okay. All right. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Like I said, staff recommends approval. Anyone in the audience either in opposition or in favor? All right. This is kind of similar to some of the other ones I think we've had over the last couple of years. I know the home place out on Schillinger, it seems like there was some additional signage for that one, coverage.
You're
Yeah.
right, I was involved in that as well.
Yeah. So this is not uncommon with other applications. All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, move for approval, subject to staff recommendations.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, application 6210, Rainbow Signs. Do we have anybody here for that?
It would appear that we don't. I think we did ask that they provide someone, and I think someone was supposed to be present. I
Okay, this
don't-
is the one that they were really going to rescind the request, right?
Well, we were recommending that they take this request back and do the proper amendment through the planning and development sign package.
So if we either vote no on it or just hold it over, either way, it should allow them time to address it.
It should.
Okay. Is there anyone here in favor or opposition of application 6210, Rainbow Signs? This 1885 Satchel Page Drive? We have none for the record. This application, from what I understand, either will be withdrawn or will be addressed to the Planning Commission if things are handled as recommended by the staff. Chair would recommend that we hold it over for 60 days to give the Planning Commission and the applicant time to resolve the requirements. I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we're on 6211, Cole Kennedy.
Jerry Bird Surveying Company once again, a little bit older. Mr. Kennedy recently purchased this property at the Loop area on Williams Street. It has an existing house. It has an existing garage apartment. The garage apartment, who knows, probably was built there in the 1950s at least. May have been wartime housing, I don't know. It was utilized as a garage apartment, rented out. Then the previous owner stopped renting it, but used it as a guest house. Later had the power turned off. Now, Mr. Kennedy purchased property. He goes to turn the power on. You can't do that without getting something from the city, and that's why we're here. No additions to the building are planned. He wants to go in and clean it up, refurbish it, turn the power on, and rent it out.
Okay. In looking at the pictures, I did not see where they had separate meters for power or anything, at least power on the building.
Well,
It'd been hard to
honestly,
see.
I took those pictures and I didn't get around in the back. There was a dog back there that I didn't want to fool with. Now, I don't know if it comes in from the rear or exactly where the power ties on to it. But, and certainly I was taking his word for it. It did look like garage door bottom, window units on top, stairwell up the side.
Yeah. All right. Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr.
Was he trying to get power on for the house itself? I think that's maybe what the chair was going for.
For the garage apartment.
So the
Power's on at the house.
Okay, so there obviously is a separate meter on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything significant they're going to do to it other than just cosmetic?
I have no idea.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Burrows.
This going to be a single apartment that would be leased or rented out to
Yes.
someone else? So we see electrical, water system, separate electric line, water line of
Yeah.
the such?
Sure.
Okay. Any additional questions?
I have a question, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, but it's more for the staff. So if you want me to do it now or you want me to wait?
Please proceed.
Okay. Bert, my question is, in most of our narratives now, it kind of talks about the future land use map and kind of brings in what, kind of what is proposed, although that, hasn't, the zoning code hadn't been rewritten yet, but it kind of gives us an indication, I guess, of what the direction that the city, proposes to go with regards to that. And then, the way I read it kind of, leads me to believe that, this would potentially be consistent with a rewrite of that code. So question number one is, is that a correct interpretation? And then secondly, further in the narrative, it talks about, accessory structures which are habitable and are permitted on single-family residential property as long as their use is an extension of the single-family dwelling and not a secondary dwelling. In most cases, click guest house or mother-in-law suite. And I guess tied into the first one, do you see that changing, with the future land use code?
Well, to your first point, this mixed density residential would be amenable to allowing things such as garage apartments. That general land use is applied throughout a lot of the Midtown area where there are a lot of existing garage apartments that either came into being due to wartime housing or prior to that. And under the work that we're doing for the proposed zoning ordinance, we are looking to be more amenable to allowing a secondary or an accessory dwelling unit on property that meets minimum size criteria. Right now, if we could say this was like a mother-in-law suite, but that required that it had no cooking facilities, so no gas or electric oven or stove. But they could have a sink, they could have a microwave, could have a refrigerator. So it's just the presence of a stove that then kicks it into an actual living unit that then we have to look at it as allowing a second dwelling unit on that site. So in the future, there is the possibility that we will be able to allow these types of uses again by right. That's assuming everything goes well enough.
Mr. Byrd, do you know if this has a regular kitchen or is it strictly a downsized microwave?
No, I really don't know. I did not, and he didn't mention.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes.
I know in recently we thought this trucking company had moved into this building that was formerly used for some kind of transportation, and we changed it, go back to the original use that it was being used, and said we'd make an exception to that because he's doing the same thing that the previous occupants had. So what's the difference between that and going to do that in this case?
Well, it's very similar to a case we had at the last meeting where there was the structure that had been built as a duplex.
Yes.
What had happened in that case, as well as in this case, is there was a time frame where the non-conforming use of a two-family dwelling on a single-family residential property expired because there was no continuous operation. There was a gap of more than 2 years. So approving this variance would allow this structure to go back to use as it apparently was originally constructed.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Milling is looking at the file at the moment, so we'll hold for that. If you'll hold a second. Are you here for one of the applications?
Yes, sir.
Which one?
Rainbow Signs.
Okay, yeah, we just held yours over for 60 days because you wasn't here.
I apologize. I was stuck on the bridge for over an hour, and I left 2.5 hours in advance to be here. It's an hour and 5 minutes.
Well, the outcome was that my understanding from staff that there's a recommendation for it to go back to planning to see if they can't address it through planning, that it was to either be withdrawn or for us to not consider it at this time, so we just held it over for 60 days to allow you to work through planning on it. But if you will, after the meeting, get with staff, and I think they'll assist you with kind of helping you understand all that. Sorry you got caught up in traffic.
I promise I'm never late for anything, and I almost had a heart attack because if we had left, I mean, it only takes me an hour and 5 minutes to get here. It took us over 2 hours to get here.
Well, I think we looked out for you. I think we get an option and buy you some time.
Which staffing will I need to talk to?
These folks up here. Okay. All right. Anyone else wish to file on this property that we're currently? All right. How long's it been, Mr. Berg? How long has it been non-conforming?
Been non-conforming?
Or I should say vacant. That's probably a better word.
I got the impression 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know when the power was turned off.
Okay, and it looks, based on staff's drawings, it looks like the property to the north is also a duplex or an apartment.
Well, the map shows definitely an accessory structure, but it doesn't indicate that that structure is in use as a garage apartment. But if you look on the southern portion of the map, you can see that there is a property that looks like it has 2 buildings that are indicated as dwelling units.
Right.
So there is a little bit of a precedent for at least 2 dwelling units on properties in this neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Any further questions for the applicant once again? All right. Mr. Burrows? Yes.
And basically, it's a comment. I understand the economics of some of the districts and things like District 1, 2, and 3 that when they zone R1. And by the way, I did go to 2 separate board meetings on that new planning, zoning and planning thing. Even the mayor was at one that I attended. And I liked a lot of what I saw in it, but what concerned me more is that the new zoning ordinance, whatever you want to call it, I don't know whether they call it an ordinance or not, but it basically what sort of I'm not impressed with. It leaves it basically. It seemed to me that it have a tendency to put zoning in the laps of the planning commission and the board of zoning. In other words, that the new code basically is not codified into any specific law. It just says, well, these are mixed-use areas if you choose it to be. Well, that has a negative effect on predominantly black neighborhoods. And I understand that some of the conforming status might be that, well, it would be vacant if it wasn't for somebody wanting to upgrade it and rent it out to an apartment. I'm really between a rock and a hard place on the zoning laws as they are particularly applied to districts 1, 2, and 3. The fact of bringing multifamily houses into an R1 neighborhood is to depreciate the value of the single-family house. That's what concerns me here. And that would be solely on the back of minorities. Even the new code appears to make it even worse. It basically states, in any zoning you want, it can be mixed use if you choose it to be. in essence. So the net effect is, if I a neighbor, wanted to challenge, I'd have to come running down here to y'all and say, hey, I'm in an R1 neighborhood, but you can't do this. But you can really do anything you want on this book. I'm not going to preach, but I'm really concerned.
Any further comments or questions for the board? All right. This particular application, staff recommends for denial. The applicant has expressed his concern that it's a hardship based on the fact that it was originally constructed and used for this purpose. And we have pictures to kind of demonstrate how it looks in relation to the property. I'll defer to the board for a motion either in favor or in opposition.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm in favor of the granting the approval for it.
Any conditions?
This is in my neighborhood, and I know that there are a lot of law departments in my neighborhood. And I think that to deny him a chance for him to rehab and put it into use, and for let it sit there, well, deteriorate, it's just going against the neighborhood. So I'm in favor of approving it for the fact that it was used for that purpose in the past.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I got a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I have a motion at the moment. Okay, I'll entertain your comment, Mr. Burrows. Go ahead, please.
The absence of historic neglect neighborhoods is no excuse. Because it's always that. You know why it's always that? You want me to answer why it's always that way? The apartments and all of that stuff in an R1 neighborhood?
Mr. Burrows?
Say what you want to say.
Mr. If you want to make your comment in the form of a response to your vote, do you have any further comment? All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, we have 6 in favor and 1 opposed. All right, do we have any other business record today?
We received a request for additional information associated with the Dunaway, which was a surfacing variance request, the old IMS school on Halls Mill Road. Mr. Spencer Ruggs is redeveloping it again as a school, and he had requested a surfacing variance to allow aggregate, and the board denied it. So that was appealed back in March, and we've received a request for additional information, and they'll be wanting to look at all surface variance requests that the board has reviewed since sometime in 2016. So
Okay.
just making you aware of that. And that's
Any other appeals?
not to my knowledge at this time.
Okay. You have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Chair entertaining a motion to adjourn? All right. We're adjourned. Thank you. If you'll get with the staff, they'll help you understand. And I'm sorry, you really didn't miss anything, because I think that looks like the way we were going to go with your application. All right. Thank you again.